Pierce High Ag Metals and Fabrication class. What we're going to talk about during this video is welding patterns. So there are a whole bunch of different welding patterns that we're going to talk about right now, just brief overview, and there are two that we're going to really get into and talk about how those things are done, the specific fundamentals involved with each type of welding pattern. So enjoy this video, definitely pay attention, and there will be things that I ask you to write down, so please do so, as when you walk into class tomorrow there's going to be an assignment for you to do in class, and if you haven't watched this video in full and you haven't written it down, you're probably not going to be able to do that, so you'll have to go watch the video elsewhere and then come back in and complete it. So pay attention. Alright, so right here you're going to see a chart with a whole bunch of different welding patterns. We've got V, upside down V, circular pattern C, which we can refer to as half moon, square pattern, J pattern, zigzag, and so on and so forth. There are a whole bunch of different welding patterns that you can use. All these you will not use in this welding course. When you get into more advanced welding courses, you could maybe use some of those. But the two that we're going to focus on right now in this video is, first of all, the circular pattern, and then our C, or what we can call our half moon or our crescent moon. So first of all, talking about our circular motion, this is simply just moving in a circle. So you're going to be using this primarily for oxyacetylene welding, and in this video actually you're going to see this guy's actually using a circular pattern. He's dragging his wire along, making a nice bead with the circular pattern on MIG. If that's what works for you, go ahead and use that. I'm going to recommend something else, but this is going to be primarily used for oxyacetylene, but this just gives you an example of the pattern and the speed that he goes in. Like we said with oxyacetylene, running that torch the other day with our demonstration, it's all about heat control. So maybe you have to move faster, maybe you have to move slower to control your heat, maybe you have to move farther away with your flame, maybe you have to get closer to form your puddle, things like that. So with this circular pattern there are a couple of factors, and this is going to apply to your C pattern or your crescent moon also. There are going to be a couple of factors that affect how good that weld actually turns out. First of all, how fast are you making your circles? How fast are you moving along? Your tendency when you start out is going to be to move really fast. You're going to have to slow that down a little bit. The second factor that's going to affect it is obviously with your four factors such as travel speed, work angle, travel angle, and arc length or work distance. Those factors are going to play in also, but with circular you definitely need to have consistency with your circles. So if you're making all different sizes of circles, you're going to end up with a really inconsistent looking bead. And if you saw in that video, that guy that was welding there had a really nice looking bead when he got done, and that all has to do with consistency of his speed and the consistency of the size of his circles. So definite things to keep into account there. Alright, and finally, this is going to be what I would recommend that you use for your MIG. First of all, it's easier to make consistent C patterns or half moon patterns than it is to make consistent circles. So for MIG, that would be what I would say. And if you notice on this picture, with their C patterns, their half moons, at the tip of every crescent moon that they make, at the tip of every C, they pause. And that's going to be important for you to do also. You want to spend some time in the middle so you can get that your filler metal for your filling wire down into the joint that you're welding together. But this is how I weld personally, and that's what I've had the most success as far as appearance and strength of my welds. But if you actually weld and pause at each point, you're going to actually be able to penetrate into that piece of metal. You'll still penetrate as you go across because your heat's going to be dispersed deeper in that metal. So the same factors play in here: travel angle, work angle, travel speed, and arc length. And you've also got your two factors: consistency of your crescent moons and how fast are you moving between those pauses if you pause. You're going to have to get your heat settings set right with your MIG machine, with your wire welder. So make sure you have those adjusted before you actually start welding on your test piece. So you can do that not on a welding table. Definitely don't weld beads on my welding tables, but you can do that on a scrap piece of metal that's in the scrap bin already, and get that machine fine-tuned, get it running like you want it to before you get started. So now comes tomorrow's activity. I'll give you guys just a second to get a piece of paper and a pen to write things down. You're definitely going to want to do that so that you know what to do when you enter the class tomorrow. Alright, so here are the instructions. When you walk into class, you're going to grab a piece of paper that I'll have supplied to you, 2 small pieces of tape. You're going to tape the piece of paper to the table so that it can't move. The reason for that is coming up. You're going to use your pen or pencil to make 25 circle beads across the piece of paper and 25 C-pattern beads across. Now, thing to take notice of, this is to practice your welding form. Notice, if you guys are to sit down with your pen or pencil, your temptation would be to put your wrist down on the table to help you steady your hand. Now when you're welding, you're not going to be able to put your wrist down, so you're going to have to practice stability. So you're going to have to hold the pencil like that with your wrist off of the table. So rules for this activity: there's no sitting, so your body cannot touch the table, and when you're done you need to turn it in and sit quietly. So when you actually get to doing this, you're going to have to find a quality stance, like a welding stance. You're going to have to stabilize your arm with your off arm. Okay? So as soon as you enter class, get that done. Thanks.